Personal finance, know your risk limit. Hello everyone. So personal finance is about trade-off. It's a trade-off between consuming today versus saving for tomorrow. So the idea is that if you consume more today, you have less for tomorrow. And for tomorrow, we mean there are two ways to think about tomorrow. You can save for tomorrow or you can invest for tomorrow. You can save for tomorrow and invest the rest for the future. Let me clarify what I mean. So we bring in money, all of us. We earn, we may have a sort of income, whether it's if you are a college student or a high school student, you might get allowance from your parents. A weekly allowance or a monthly allowance. And you can choose what you want to do with it. You may just simply spend everything and then have nothing left over, and you wait for your parents or your employer to give you the next paycheck, or you can spend some of it and then save the rest. Maybe you can put that part of the amount in saving account in your local bank, and then take the rest of it and open a brokerage account online. This day, it is so easy to do that and then invest that even if it's $50, you can still do that. And then hopefully if you make the right investment choice, that money grows over time. And then of course you have your saving account which pays very little interest this day, but it's a safe place to park your money. And it's certainly better than putting money under your pillow, where it grows absolutely nowhere. I mean, goes nowhere, other than just staying there. At least with saving account, you get some return, and that return, the amount of return you get on your saving or saving interest varies over time. Nowadays, it may be one rate, which may be very, very low, but in the future, it will increase. And so there is a cycle process to this whole thing. The bottom line is that it is a constant trade-off. Personal finance, and this is where the personal comes in again, is this idea that this is not the same for everybody. It is specific to you and what are your priorities at given point in time. You may given where you are, given some of the thing you want to accomplish. In some period you might consume more and save less because there is some urgent needs you need to take care of right away. In the other periods, you might be able to consume less and save more and invest more for the future. And that is different decision for different people, right? So that is the personal aspect of it. That it is not a one size fits all formula that work for everybody. And then again, the personal finance, it's really important that you to be good in this business of personal finance, that you understand your own risk tolerance. This is something that I cannot emphasize enough because to be a successful investor, you need to understand yourself very, very well. In fact, if you read the well-known book on the history of Wall Street investing, written by people who made millions of dollars in their investment, classic certainly reminiscences. There are certain classic books, like there is very well-known Wall Street broker called Edwin Leff, who many times made millions of dollars and lost it and made it again. He's a legend of Wall Street, and he used to say that knowing yourself is first of all the key. And that is something that we often overlook. Understanding how much risk you can tolerate is very, very important. There are certain instruments that you can take, surveys that will determine what kind of risk tolerance you have. In fact, interestingly, if you open a brokerage account and go to whatever that is for you, you will see that they initially, even before they do anything else, will make you fill out pages long survey, and that's it, in a way to get at your risk tolerance. They want to understand what kind of risk tolerance you have before designing a portfolio that is right for you with the right kind of risk exposure. So I cannot emphasize this enough that before you get into this seriously, you need to figure out, and there are many ways to do this. You can go online and find research for this very easily to figure out how much risk you can tolerate. And so you can be, for example, a risk averse person, one who is not comfortable taking too much risk. In that case, your portfolio will be on the conservative side with less risk exposure, more exposure to bonds, high quality bonds, even government bonds, which we'll talk about later. On the other hand, if you are a gambler by nature, in other words, your tolerance for risk is very high, then your portfolio will have a higher risk exposure. Now, why is the risk? Understanding risk important? Well, apart from the fact that your investment portfolio has to be consistent with your risk attitude, there's also the notion of understanding that risk and return are correlated measure. By that, I mean that in order to make your portfolio grow relatively faster, you have to be able to take some risk. Some risk, and when I say some risk, it is a relative term. When it's some risk to one person, it may not be the same as person B. But the overall truth is that risk and return go hand in hand. When you take more risk in your portfolio, you should be able to expect relatively greater returns than if you were just fill your portfolio with extremely safe investment with very little downside. Well, then your return is also going to be commensurate with that kind of risk, which is that very little risk means very little return that you can expect. So understanding that trade-off between risk and return is key as well. But before you get to that, understanding your own risk tolerance is just so critical.